Not just Arabs. Now Trump's closest ally abandons him and boldly branches out on its own in a surprising shift that's shaking up international alliances. Bibi orders a massive $200 million worth of weapons at a critical moment as the US desperately runs out of missiles amid escalating regional tensions. The US is critically low on its weapons stockpile right now, forcing Bibi to fend for himself while Iran aggressively rearms and builds up its own formidable arsenal. Amid a grueling multi-front war that's stretching resources to the limit, Israel is making a determined attempt to replenish its own stocks independently to ensure it stays combat-ready. Israel's defense ministry said it ordered another whopping $200 million worth of aerial munitions to significantly boost its air power capabilities in these uncertain times. The munitions were ordered from leading arms manufacturer Elbit, as reported by the Times of Israel, highlighting a key domestic partnership in defense production. The ministry said the multi-year order came as part of a strategic effort to bolster readiness for all possible combat scenarios that could emerge on multiple fronts. Israel's defense ministry said, quote, as part of bolstering readiness for near-term combat scenarios and preparing for an intense security decade. The Israel Ministry of Defense, IMOD, Defense Procurement Directorate, DPD, has issued multi-year orders for aerial munitions manufactured by Elbit Systems. Valued at over $200 million, approximately NIS $600 million. The contracts are being led by the DPD Deputy Head for Air and Naval Procurement. Manufacturing will take place at Elbit facilities across Israel, unquote. In March, Israel placed a substantial $48 million order for tens of thousands of 155mm artillery shells directly from Elbit to ramp up ground firepower amid intensifying conflicts. In January, a massive $183 million deal was signed between the Defense Ministry and Elbit specifically for advanced aerial munitions to strengthen air defense capabilities across multiple fronts. These defense deals come amid the ongoing fierce fighting against Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran's proxy forces, which continue to test Israel's resilience on every border. Notably, Netanyahu's bold move comes right as alarming reports of the US running out of critical weapons start making the rounds in global media and intelligence circles. US missile stockpiles are significantly depleted after weeks of intense operations in the Iran war, according to exclusive reporting from CNN on the escalating shortages. The US has used up nearly 50% of some key precision-guided munitions, including vital interceptors, burning through reserves at an unprecedented pace. The Pentagon has warned of a near-term risk to overall military readiness if these current high usage rates continue without immediate resupply efforts. Replenishing those missile stocks could realistically take between 1 to 5 years due to severely limited production capacity and overwhelming global demand. According to reporting cited by the Wall Street Journal, the Pentagon is now pushing major US automakers to pivot into weapons production. The US War Department is said to be in talks with household names like Ford and General Motors, exploring how their assembly lines can be adapted for war. Officials are exploring whether auto factories can be retooled to produce missiles, loitering munitions, and other tactical hardware at scale. Analysts warn that the US is facing a worsening shortage of critical missiles such as THAAD interceptors, PRSM and ATACMS tactical missiles, and Tomahawk cruise missiles. By late March, some reports estimated that the US had less than a month's worth of THAAD and PRSM missiles left at current rates of fire. A UK think tank went further, projecting that the US would effectively run out of THAAD interceptors by April 17th, and exhaust its PRSM and ATACMS stocks even earlier, by April 12th. By the end of March, reports suggested that the US had already fired roughly a quarter of its entire Tomahawk missile inventory in the Iran conflict. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on April 21st staged public displays of ballistic missiles in several Iranian cities, underscoring the country's emphasis on its missile arsenal amid the ongoing war. The parades took place in Tehran, Kerman, and Arak just hours before President Trump revealed that he was extending the truce, timing the events to coincide with a key diplomatic turn. Iran International reported on April 21st that the missile displays were held against the backdrop of a stalemate in indirect talks, framing them as a political statement as much as a military one. Videos shared by Iranian state media showed ballistic missiles being paraded through residential and urban areas, giving the impression that the hardware is deeply embedded in everyday life. Large crowds were seen waving Iranian flags and chanting anti-US and anti-Israel slogans, reflecting both state-organized mobilization and genuine public anger toward the Western powers. The crowds also chanted slogans praising Iran's military establishment and calling for strikes against Israel, signaling that domestic sentiment remains firmly behind an assertive posture. Hezbollah flags were visible at several locations during the rallies, underlining the ideological and operational alignment between Iran and its regional proxy network. At the Tehran rally, the Garda ballistic missile was prominently displayed in a central square, drawing attention to one of Iran's key long-range systems. In another part of Tehran, the Khorramshahr 4 ballistic missile was also put on display, with state media using the imagery to project reach and deterrence. An image attached to one of the displayed missiles reportedly identified a potential target as Ras Gas, a liquefied natural gas firm in Qatar, suggesting that Gulf energy infrastructure is on Iran's hit list. These displays form part of a broader pattern of regular, ongoing pro-government rallies that have been held across Iran since the war began on February 28. Iran released a video on April 19 showing underground missile and drone launchers, signaling that its strategic weapons infrastructure remains active despite weeks of war. The IRGC-linked video portrayed ongoing overhaul and reconstruction work on Iran's missile and drone stockpiles, suggesting Tehran is trying to showcase recovery and resilience during the ceasefire. IRGC Aerospace Force Commander Saeed Majid Mousavi said the replenishment of arms had been accelerated, according to reporting cited by Iranian outlets. Mousavi said the pace of replenishing weapons increased during the ceasefire period, indicating that Iran used the pause to restore parts of its arsenal. His remarks were reported by WANA and Press TV just ahead of the expected expiry of the ceasefire window. Saeed Majid Mousavi said, and I quote, "Iran's speed in updating and reloading missile and drone launchers have surpassed even its pre-war pace. We are aware that the enemy is incapable of creating such conditions for themselves during the ceasefire. Since the ceasefire began on April 11th, the United States has had to bring in ammunition from the other side of the world in a trickle. They have lost this phase of the war as well. They have lost the Strait, they have lost Lebanon, and they have lost the entire region." Unquote. Mousavi's claims came after US media reports argued that Iran still retained the ability to sustain its missile capability despite the conflict. The Wall Street Journal, citing US intelligence assessments, reported that Iran still has thousands of ballistic missiles in reserve. Those missiles could reportedly be pulled out of hiding or retrieved from underground sites, reinforcing concerns that Iran's strike capacity was not eliminated.